Pro has officially been out now for 1 year. The video I created when it first came out was actually my most viewed viral video of the year, so there's obviously a lot of interest in it. This will kind of be a recap of what's changed in a year, and if this is the first time checking out your headset, take a quick little listen. So, like I mentioned, 1 year long. That originally was only available in the US. This is now finally available in other countries around the world. I'm based in Canada. This means that I don't have to drive south of the border, or if you lived in Europe or in Asia, you didn't have to take a flight to the US to fully buy it. Something that hasn't changed is the price. So this is still the most expensive AR headset that you can get. So $3,500 US, that translates to $5,000 Canadian. That's for the base storage option. That's 256 gigs. Do not go any higher. You don't need extra storage on your Vision Pro. As an example, the one that I have is a terabyte. It's $5,600. You start adding tax on. If you tack on the travel case, which is another $279, you are pushing like $6,700, $7,000 for the Vision Pro headset. This is essentially like a hard shell, but when you think about it, it's almost like its own dedicated carry-on if you want to travel with this. So just put this into your backpack, stick it in a little baggie or soft cloth to keep it protected. Like I said, it's the most expensive headset that you can buy. Is it worth it? Really depends up to your use case. And I've had the fortune of testing everything from Vision Pro to Meta Quest to the cheaper $100, $150 little AR glasses that are essentially like screen duplicators. This is the best experience of augmented reality, bar none. Like, it is leaps and bounds better than everything else. Perhaps that's why it carries that premium price tag. To fully justify that high-end price, don't just grab this to watch content, to watch movies, to have that glorified screen, to trend on the internet, to create memes. You can do that with way cheaper headsets. I find with this, like a lot of Apple products, they really benefit from being kind of sucked into the rest of the Apple ecosystem. I have found the best use case for me, or the best, most practical use, is honestly pairing this with my MacBook with a virtual display. I can essentially look at my MacBook from Vision Pro and get that prompt to expand the screen into a virtual screen. Crystal clear image, 4K, that I can scale to any size, that I can move anywhere. You can still multitask. You can still get your MacBook display up. You can still get apps launched from within Vision Pro. So you technically don't need external accessories like a studio display, like the Pro Display XDR. So you can almost justify, instead of spending money on that, on a Vision Pro. If you really haven't experienced this yet, but you've kind of dabbled into the augmented reality space, I can say that this is like leaps and bounds ahead. The pass-through, the latency is pretty much like non-existent. Everything is free-flowing and fluid. You can look at other displays. You can even just text normally with your phone. It works. The camera quality around the peripherals isn't the highest, but that is obviously in compensation to get everything running at a smooth frame rate. But everything that you're looking at, that you're interacting with, whether you're going through your virtual timeline on your MacBook, whether you're consuming content, whether you're checking messages, everything is nice and clear. Keep in mind, with 1 year in, we also have the updates coming to Vision OS 2. The biggest updates, I would say, are new gesture support. So just being able to say, use your hand to get to Control Center. New resolution support for that virtual display, which, like I said, I think is the best feature, as well as ultra wide support. Normal photos can be converted to spatial photos through AI, so you can kind of view them in that 3D virtual world. Keyboard breakthrough. So now typically you have the virtual keyboard that pops up that you can either control, using gestures or tapping on that virtual keyboard screen. Or if you're using, say, your MacBook or another keyboard, you can't actually see that, but that breakthrough will enable that keyboard to kind of pass through into the virtual world. So you'll essentially just be able to see it. And lastly, I'd say the most not important thing, but customization feature. You can finally then update or rearrange the icons on your home screen. So that kind of gets me to the second point of the review, which is kind of app selection, which I think really defines Vision Pro. So right now there's 2,000 fully usable Vision Pro apps, with over 1 million compatible ones in the App Store. I wouldn't say it's, a full ecosystem yet. You can play some, basic games with this, but there aren't really like in-depth games, something that, a AAA title that would entice you to get Vision Pro. As a prime example, I'm a big football or soccer fan, so the Euros are going on right now. I'm not able to watch like multi-stream like how they kind of did in the demo for the NBA, having multiple games going on at the same time. Obviously, that has a lot to do with not only developers, numbers, but usage rights as well. I am someone very guilty that every Saturday, Sunday morning watching EPL, I would definitely have this on, wouldn't disturb my wife, and I can watch every game that I wanted to at the same time. I think like we're both winning. That would be like my own personal guilty pleasure for an example. One thing that I think this actually does really well is Persona. So that's that little, I guess, 3D created avatar of yourself when you initially set up your device. If you haven't used this yet for something like a FaceTime call, when you go into Spatial Persona, so it's not just that one-to-one, you can actually get that other person on a FaceTime call. So I was actually FaceTiming, one of my friends, MJ. That Spatial Persona call really makes it feel like the person is next to you or close by. You can move around the room and their perception of you changes. It's something like I've never experienced before. And maybe that's a reason, once again, on its own. If you're not able to, physically meet up with friends and loved ones, if that distance is too far, that experience on its own really makes you feel like you're like living in the Matrix. It's something that's so different from something like the Quest, or obviously any of the cheaper ones can't come close to this. Obviously the build quality on this is, it's Apple stuff. It is premium, it's solid. Nothing is Mickey Mouse. You've seen all the initial reviews. It's all, crafted out of aluminum. The glass is premium. Nothing is janking around. I will say though, like a year later, this headband, although it is technically the one that I like to wear so it doesn't wreck, my hair, which I like to keep orderly, it is noticeably heavier than all the rest, and you do get a bit of fatigue after using this for like 20-25 minutes. If you want to have any prolonged use, just make sure you use the other headband. Even while setting this up over 25 minutes, when you take this off, you do have some pressure. If you guys can see, I probably have a bit of like a red band on my head. My Persona, for example, when I first set like him up, it was me, had a red band across his head because the setup took like 15 minutes. It's just something to think about if you're using this, say like at work. The last thing that you want is to step into a meeting with like red marks around your head. You just won't get taken seriously. But I guess if your workplace uses Vision Pro, you'd all be talking in Spatial Persona anyways. Matrix level stuff. Obviously battery life, which I haven't mentioned in a year, that remains unchanged. So I'm getting around like 2 hours, depending on what I'm using it with. You still have to carry around this pack. It's still connected via hardwire. I do think when we see, Vision Pro 2, this will become thinner, might even be integrated into the headset at a future point. But this, I would still say, isn't the biggest crux. Like as long as you have it like behind you, you don't notice it. As long as you're not moving around, if you're working at like a workstation at a table, just as long as it's off to the side, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. And last but not least, maybe to try to justify that price, obviously Apple does stuff very, very well. Say for example, you're passing this off to a friend to use, they can actually just readjust how this is set up because everything is based off of gestures, all off of your eye tracking. Vision Pro will essentially recalibrate their interpupillary distance, which is kind of what all of the cameras are using to sense everything. When you're in spatial video, when you change the view from, a regular view to say inside a theater, the audio actually changes, or the person's voice that's talking to you noticeably changes and kind of mimics how it would be inside of a theater. It's just like those little things. The pass through, the tracking is just so accurate. It's the most like realistic experience that you can have in augmented reality. Yes, it's got that, heavy price point. But like I said, to get that full like benefit ROI use out of it, if you're using this for like actual work, for actual productivity, getting work done, I think that's where like the real benefit will lie, until we finally start to see like a full suite of apps, stuff that, people get super pumped about. But yeah, let me know your thoughts about Vision Pro. If you're in one of those countries where it's available, let me know if you placed your pre-order. On the little speculation train and just kind of going through some leaks, I saw that Apple is possibly coming out with a cheaper version of Vision Pro. Might have some of the non-premium features, but will really help lower that price point to entice more people to try it out. I think Apple smashed it, like absolutely crushed it with this. It's, can you swallow the price point for it? So I hope you guys enjoyed my revisited 1-year review of Vision Pro. There is still one thing undisputed a year later. If you are wearing this thing in public, it is still super, super weird to see someone with Vision Pro. You'll get stares, you'll get looks, but doing a little bit of forecasting here, I do think this is the future of not only just wearables, but I think the smartphone, going from this kind of rectangular form factor, something that you're like holding, will get replaced by some sort of wearable, like on the eye thing, whether that's something like Vision Pro, something this large, or something as simple that just lives in, say, like your eye, like almost like a contact lens. Eventually the tech will get that small where it's minuscule and everything will be based off of eye tracking, controlling things with your fingertips. Like, that is truly next level Matrix. But mark my words, if YouTube still exists in 20 years, go back, watch this video. You'll say that I called it first for the end of the smartphone and the next gen of spatial computing. I'll catch the rest of you in one of my next vids. Peace.